Thanks for joining us. I'm Alexandra Lewis.
I'm Kyle Clark. ICE is looking for 2 detainees who escaped from the Aurora Detention Center. They say this happened yesterday, same day that there were protesters outside all day and night, and there were police officers outside the facility for hours.
9 News reporter Janelle Finch is there tonight with some details on who exactly ICE is looking for. Janelle?
ICE didn't share information on how these detainees escaped, only that they're looking for 2 men. ICE provided these photos, one of 32-year-old Joel Jose Gonzalez Gonzalez and a 24-year-old man they named as Gaylon Vito Romero. The Douglas County Sheriff's Office says his name is Vito Romero Gaylon Jose. ICE says both men were arrested in separate Colorado counties before they were brought to the ICE detention facility. Dougco says Gaylon Jose was charged with 2 misdemeanors for theft and resisting arrest. Immigration says he's been in the U.S. since the end of 2023. According to ICE, a judge ordered his removal from the country 1 month ago. ICE says Gonzalez has been in the U.S. since 2013. He's charged with misdemeanor theft in Adams County. The agency says he's been waiting on immigration court proceedings to determine his ability to stay in the U.S. ICE says it notified local police immediately that the men had escaped, and they refused to assist. Now, Aurora police says that they didn't get this notification until hours after the men had already escaped. They say that they can help with active public safety emergencies, but they do not enforce federal immigration law, and they cannot participate in large-scale searches. In Aurora, Janelle Finch, 9 News.
Tonight, Democratic Senator Michael Bennet had a contentious conversation with some of the Coloradans he represents. Bennet and Democratic Congresswoman Brittany Pettersen hosted a town hall in Golden, and by our count, police escorted out at least 7 people who interrupted the forum. These protests were coming from the members of Congress' progressive left. Bennet and Pettersen were asked exactly how they are fighting back against President Trump's policies. One woman expressed frustration about what she categorized as a lack of action by Democrats. She said she wanted specifics.
It really doesn't seem like there's a plan. I know that you say that we are the founders and we are the leaders, but come on, I feel like you're talking pretty.
Bennet urged people to support the federal employees who are suing the government over President Trump and Elon Musk's dismantling of federal agencies. But Bennet did not provide any details of a Democrat-led plan to fight back broadly against the Trump administration.
He won not just the presidency, but a big majority in the Senate and a little majority in the House. And it doesn't do anybody any good for us to pretend that that's not real. And so that actually makes it challenging. But it's not an excuse for not continuing to push. It's not an excuse to not continue to lift our voices.
We followed up with Senator Bennet after the town hall about whether Democrats actually have a plan to push back on Trump administration actions. Bennet told us it's clear Democrats need to develop a better one.
Let's talk weather. The sun returned today, and those high winds are easing a bit tonight. The National Weather Service, however, has issued fire weather watches and warnings for tomorrow and Friday, covering a large part of eastern Colorado. So let's get to Chris Spears with a check of our weather. It's nice things are kind of calming down, ahead of the weekends.
It is so nice, especially after such a hectic 24 to 36 hours with all of that wind out there. Tonight, really, the only thing I have to talk to you about is this little batch of snow that popped up after sunset. It's right around La Junta. It's light. It may be accumulating on grassy surfaces, but we do not anticipate it to last very long. 20s for the most part, still some 30s though east of I-25 and out on the western slope. You get into the high country, most of us are in the 20s, and some of us are now falling into the single digits and teens. It's just 3 at Leadville. The wind gust map, anything over 15 miles per hour. Very little to show you. What a nice map. This map was very busy earlier today. Tonight in Denver, it's quiet. We're going to cool down to about 21 degrees or so, mostly clear with light wind. Your weather headlines, we're going to be quiet tonight, warmer tomorrow, and fire weather on the way. Tomorrow is the first day of spring. How will it look for the weekend? We'll take a look in the forecast coming up.
A 72-year-old man is facing charges for killing a mother in Frederick back in 2007. This guy confessed.
9 News reporter Spencer Soysher joins us. And Spencer, after he confessed, he actually sent a letter to the woman's daughter apologizing.
Yet 25-year-old Jessica Bejarano was stabbed to death in her home in April of 2007. 9 News Investigates obtained an affidavit that reveals more details about the case after Daryl Berkland was arrested 18 years later. DNA evidence led investigators to Berkland. Investigators say they had interviewed him several times over the years because he was a contractor for a maintenance company that did work on the family's home. The affidavit shows this time he told investigators he knocked on their door because he knew her husband wasn't home. He said after a struggle, he stabbed her in the chest. But after he confessed, he wrote a letter to Bejarano's daughter, included in these court documents. Now that letter, it starts with, "Hello, my name is Daryl Berkland. I'm the man who took your mother's life 18 years ago. An accident and bad judgment on my part robbed your family of the most important person in your life." He went on to write, "I don't expect your forgiveness. My conscience will torture me the rest of my life." The court documents also show that Bejarano's daughter and son were in the house at the time of her murder. Her daughter was 4 years old, her son just a baby 1. The affidavit also says her daughter told family members that, quote, "A big man came into the house and poked mommy in the chest with something," indicating she may have witnessed the crime. Spencer Soysher, 9 News.
The Poudre School District is showing support for their educators who plan to rally at the state capitol tomorrow. The district is offering up their buses to take those teachers to Denver. It's all so they can rally as the state legislature considers changing the way schools are funded. Poudre Schools is on spring break this week, so they don't have to worry about teacher absences. But several school districts have already canceled classes tomorrow because so many of their teachers are taking the day off. Today we learned Aurora Public Schools will close along with Boulder Valley Schools and Adams 12. Denver Public Schools is canceling class for some of its schools, and you can find that full list on 9news.com.
President Trump is expected to sign an executive order tomorrow closing the Department of Education. The White House confirmed that to NBC News today. Now, formally closing the department requires an act of Congress, but without that, the Trump administration can still effectively cripple it, make it nearly impossible for employees to carry out their work there. Education Secretary Linda McMahon is on board with this. She recently took steps to cut the department's workforce in half and called it the first step in shutting down the Department of Education. Israel's military sent ground troops back into Gaza today, days after Israel broke a 2-month ceasefire with Hamas.
Today, protesters gathered on Denver's Aurora campus. 9 News reporter Colton Chavez joins us now. Colton, they were protesting the war in Gaza, among other things.
Yeah, Alex, they were also talking about everything from ICE deportations to attacks on free speech. But there was also one local doctor in attendance, and he was talking about peace because he says he knows what the opposite can look like.
What do we do?
Protesters on Denver's Aurora campus have a lot to say.
But we will not take these attacks in silence.
But Dr. Mohammed Kuzis is calling for one thing.
Regardless of everything that's going on around them, these children are, by the very virtue of being children, innocent.
Dr. Kuzis is a pediatrician in Colorado. He spent 20 days in Gaza providing medical treatment to children in war-torn areas.
We pulled this out of a 3-year-old child. We pulled out this 15-gram piece of metal from a child. The 2,000-pound bombs do not make a distinction between civilian and combatant.
Dr. Kuzis shares what it's like to treat children in a war-torn country, knowing not everyone can be saved.
I've had to walk away from a 2-year-old child who received a shrapnel injury in their brain because we didn't have a pediatric neurosurgeon. Despite the family grasping at your arms because you are their only hope to keep that child alive, you have to walk away because you know that there's other people who may yet survive with your medical care. It's the hardest thing I've had to do as a physician.
He says during a time when people debate opposing viewpoints on complicated political issues, Dr. Kuzis says one thing should be simple.
I don't have all the answers to complicated political questions, but to me, the life and death of a child is not a complicated question.
It hasn't even been 2 months since Dr. Kuzis returned from Gaza, and he says he's already planning his next trip over there to help. Live in Denver, Colton Chavez, 9 News.